The history textbooks, especially for Edexcel, are honestly very shockingly bad. It's a very good cramming technique. I was literally doing this the day before some of my exams, and honestly I don't think I would have got a 9 without this. Hey guys, it's Shola, and today I'm going to be doing a highly requested video, how to get a grade 9 in GCSE History. Let's get straight into it. So the video is going to be split up into 3 parts, and the first part is going to be on how to memorize content. The second part is going to be on how to improve your exam technique, and the third part is going to be on how to be prepared for any question that could come up. So we're going to be focused on how to memorize content. So with history, it's really important that you understand the overview of what happened in that time period that you're studying to be able to truly understand the topic. This is especially important for the topic that you have, which covers 1,000 years. It's really important that you understand the important events that happened in that time period, and also how those events were very significant. So the most important thing for history is to memorize. GCSE History is literally how much you can memorize. It's really unfair that a subject that should be teaching you about history and the importance of it, it's really upsetting that it just boils down to memorization and just how much you can keep in your brain. Really focus on memorizing the content as opposed to anything else. And honestly, I don't think I would have got a 9 without this. These purple books are all you need for grade 9. I'm here to tell you that this is literally all you need for grade 9. Memorize these books and you're good to go. This is basically the baseline. You can also use the textbook that you have in school to supplement this and to add to what the revision guide didn't. But honestly, this revision guide is pretty much everything that you need. Memorize this. That's it for you. Like, that's pretty much everything you need to know. The history textbooks, especially for Edexcel, are honestly very shockingly bad. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, it just goes on and on and on. Like, I feel like it had a quota, it had to meet a certain number of pages. Literally just not useful. Like, the information, it could be summarized, and it was in this revision guide. So for history, this is something that I wouldn't say for other subjects, but for history, focus on your revision guide and then you can look at the textbook. But that is just like as a supplement, as an extra little thing. But the revision guide is literally all you need. So how do you memorize an entire revision guide? Because I know it's thin, but it does have a good amount of content in it. And the way that I did this is that I basically summarized all of these revision guides into these A5 books. So let me actually explain this properly. So what I would do is I would take each subtopic. So sometimes they were 1 page, sometimes they were 2 pages. I'll take that and then I'll summarize it into bullet points so that it's only as big as an A4 piece of paper. Anything more, then that's too much for me to memorize. When you summarize, please cut out all of the words that you don't need. Make words shorter. You don't need to be saying and. You can use a plus or and symbol, but just cut it down so it's as little as it can be, so it's easier for you to memorize. And then after this, on the next page, I would put a post-it note and then I'll put questions which would cover all of the content. Somehow they would make me have to basically summarize every single thing on that paper. So when I looked on those questions, it basically was a form of active recall. It was basically a flashcard. But the way this flashcard was very good is that if I got the question wrong, I would have to read the entire page over again. And this just reinforces everything that you think you know and also the things that you don't know. These books are just very portable, so I could do this anywhere, and it was just very useful. It was a very good cramming technique, especially towards the end. I was literally doing this the day before some of my exams. Please don't do that, but that's what I was doing and it did serve me well. If you can't fit it all on an A5 piece of paper, then you can go over, but just do 2 pages max, because there's a line between summarizing and just copying what the revision guide says, and that's not what you want to do. So you can use other methods such as blurting or flashcards, but I feel like this was what really helps me because it's just a very compact and efficient way of doing recall and to memorize things. Blurting is good, but it does take a good amount of time, and you can't do it for an entire history paper. Like, it just would go on and you wouldn't be focused on certain topics. So I feel like this method is really good. It's very in-depth because you're going in every single subtopic, so if a subtopic comes up in the exam, you'll be more prepared than if you were just blurting out an entire topic on a piece of paper. Because when you blurt, it's not really in-depth, it's just like a little summary of what you know. If you do my method, you're more likely to remember the specifics, the dates and everything. That will just help you to pick up those marks in the exam. So now let's talk about exam technique. Exam technique is really important in history because you can know all of the content, but if you're answering the question wrong, you're not going to get any marks. So I really recommend that you get familiar with each question type and what it requires from you. If you get the purple revision guides, then these have it at the back. They basically go through every single question. They have a sample answer, how to improve, and if you just memorize this kind of structure, you're pretty much good to go. So please focus on what each exam question requires of you. For example, if you're answering a question where it tells you to explain 2 consequences of a certain event, don't be talking about anything else but the consequences, and make sure these consequences are distinctively different. So if you write the same thing twice, the examiner will not give you full marks, so be very wary of this. So for a question that requires 2 consequences, make sure that you have 2 clear paragraphs, you use dates, and you also use statistics, so this maximizes the chance of you getting full marks. You really want to aim for full marks for the first few questions because these are pretty much easy marks. It's the last question that you're more bound to lose marks on, so if you secure these marks early, you definitely increase your chance of getting a better grade. Once you understand what's required of you for each question, I really recommend that you write essays and you give them to your teacher for specific feedback. So you can give it to them and then go to them after school, ask them to tell you any places where they think you can improve, tell you the places that were really good, and just get specific advice. Don't be scared, guys, because it's better to be scared to go to them than to be scared to enter the exam. That's what I always say. History is one of those things that you can't really mark yourself, so really focus on teachers' advice because it just really helps. So as well as this, you really want to try to complete all of the past papers. This will just be invaluable for your practice because you're basically giving yourself that time constraint that you're going to get in the real exam, and you're just preparing your mind and also your hands for this exam, because history is actually a very serious subject when it comes to writing. Your hand's going to get very tired, so you want to practice these long periods of exams first before you actually go into your real exam, just so that you're prepared and you're not too tired in the exam. And what you can also do is start to formulate your own questions. So the way that you can do this is to basically just copy the start of the question, so explain 2 consequences of, and just use the title of a subtopic. And if you do this for all of the subtopics and you plan your answers for all of these questions, you're basically prepared for any question that could come up. It's just a very clear way to assess where you are and what needs improving. And especially when you're practicing towards the exam, you really want to start to plan your answers instead of actually writing them, because you might not have time to write them fully. It's just to get you in that frame of mind so that you're good at answering questions. It just prepares you to be able to plan your question for the actual exam, so when you do get onto those longer questions, you do plan beforehand, and it's very quick and it's very easy, and it's just really helpful. So when it comes to the actual exam, read that question many times. Read it at least 3 times, because if you read it a certain way and you think it's something that you want and you start writing and then you realize the question is wrong, you essentially wasted so much time. And history exams are definitely a game of time. You do not have time to be wasting, so you want to be sure that you're answering the right question type for the right topic. So make sure you know whether it's significance, whether it's causation, whether it's similarities between events, whether it's what changed over time. Just be sure you know what the conceptual focus is of the question, and make sure that your answer is adequate for this question type. It might be asking you to describe something or to explain something or to evaluate something, and when it comes to evaluation, make sure that your standpoint is clear. You don't want to be doing I agree but I kind of disagree. Please, you either agree or disagree. Don't be messing it up, because the examiner will not like this. And for 4 to 5 markers, even though you might know the content in and out, like you really love that subtopic that came up, make sure your answer is relevant to the question. Please don't blurt out everything you know just to show the examiner that you know a lot of stuff, and develop your answers, but just don't waste too much time. These are just quick questions to get you started. Your focus should be on the last few questions. Another important thing is exam timing. So as I said, history is very fixed on time. So when you have a paper that is 1 hour 30 minutes, you want to have 45 minutes per each unit, just so that you can cover everything. If you don't complete that part in the 45 minutes, then move on. It's always better to answer questions than to leave them blank. So you can spend 6 minutes of question 1, 8 minutes on question 2, 30 minutes on question 3, and just make sure that you read through all of the questions at the start of the exam, just to prepare yourself mentally for what you're gonna write. So finally, let's move on to how to be prepared for any kind of question. So what I recommend that you do for this is to basically turn the specification, turn each point into a question. So you might not have time to do every single question, but if you plan your answer for every question, you're basically preparing yourself for any question that could come up, and you're also improving your thinking skills and your essay writing skills in the process. So if you'll keep doing this, even if you don't cover everything, you'll be prepared in the sense that you have the mindset to be able to answer any question, despite the question type, despite the topic. You'll just be prepared because you already have a framework in mind that you use for every question. Plan these questions on A4, or you can write them up. If you're going to write up questions with the intention of giving them to your teacher, just type them. There's no point of writing it because it just makes it easier for you. You're not really focusing on your timing, you are focusing more on the quality of your essays. So if you can, be sure to type it up, print it, or send it to your teacher. It's just really useful this way, and it's better so that you can keep track of your essays. So when you give this to your teacher, please ask for specific advice and specific criticism. Although you want to know what you did good, the focus is on what you did bad and what you can improve before the exam. Each time you're given an essay, you should see that there's a gradual increase in your grade and that you get a stronger answer each time. When you do essays, please try to do them without your textbook or revision guide, because I feel like just really trains your brain and it really helps you to be prepared for the actual exam, because you're not going to have your notes in the actual exam. So the more you can do this, the better. And it also stimulates the exam environment, which is very important because history exams especially can be very intimidating. It's a few questions and a lot of blank paper, so it's just very scary and intimidating. So the more that you practice this, the better, the more comfortable you'll feel in the exam, and the less likely you are to make mistakes due to stress. So yeah guys, that's pretty much everything. I really hope it helped you, and if it did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and comment down below for what video you would like to see next. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.